The latest episode of Stargirl offers family drama, some more of the show's now trademark top-notch fight scenes, and a heartbreaking ending that few probably saw coming. Hello everyone, I'm Dan the Man. I say this most weeks, even if not necessarily on the reviews, but this episode may be the best so far. That's one thing that amazes me about this show. While not the case every time, most weeks they seem to top themselves. And this was no exception, with so far the most emotional and one of, if not the most talked about episodes of the series. Before getting too deep into the story, I did want to share an Easter egg right at the beginning. I don't talk about them too much since by the time I do these videos, most have already dissected the Easter eggs more thoroughly than I ever could. But this show is chock full of Stargirl, Justice Society, and DC Easter eggs in general. But one of the better ones so far was the movie theater that they panned across in the beginning. The marquee listed Strange Adventures as the movie playing, and the movie poster showed movies played as The Unknown Soldier, Prez, and G.I. Robot. All four of those are titles or characters from DC Comics. Strange Adventures, incidentally, is also set to be adapted into a TV show on HBO Max, and this could be a nod to that, but given this show was filmed way before that was announced, I'm inclined to believe it was a coincidence, unless they added it later. In addition to the neat Easter eggs, I also like the scene of Barbara and Pat first meeting, as the two characters have not had a huge amount of screen time with just the two of them, ironically, so it was great to see their chemistry in action. I also liked in general we got to see more of Barbara in this episode. I've been a fan of Amy Smart for a long time, and it's obvious why she is often in the background of this show, but I'm glad to see her get to step up and show more of her talent, which sadly seems to go unnoticed in Hollywood way too often. Which leads us into Barbara's reaction, as the cat's now out of the bag, and Barbara knows all of Courtney and Pat's secrets. I talked about this last episode, and you can click on the card if you want my more extensive thoughts on it, but I'm still not a huge fan of superheroes having everyone know their secret identity. But even though a part of me wishes that they had kept her in the dark longer, her reaction was very well done, as Barbara was undoubtedly both upset at Pat for keeping this huge secret from her, and for dragging her daughter into it. Now we as the audience know that Pat did about as much as he could to keep Courtney out of this, and her getting so deep into it was despite his efforts to stop her. But Barbara doesn't know that, and as a protective mother, the fact he didn't do enough to stop her might be all she really cared about. Her wanting to leave Blue Valley was also an understandable and realistic reaction. It was somewhat anticlimactic, since no one really thinks Courtney is leaving Blue Valley, but it was still the obvious reaction for her to have and very in character. The one problem I did have with her reaction was her seeming confusion over whether or not Sam Curtis is Starman. Originally, she seemed adamant he wasn't, but later scenes implied she was less sure. The thing is, how would she be unsure one way or the other? The lock-up picture of Sam was blurry, obviously intentional on the show's part, but Barbara would know what the father of her daughter looked like. So she should have immediately been able to say, "Courtney, the man in this picture is not your father," or words to that effect, assuming it isn't him. So why did she act so unsure? It's not like Starman wears a mask. The picture Pat showed is pretty clear, so unless Sam and Sylvester are that supposed doppelganger everyone has out there, it doesn't make sense why she wasn't certain from the get-go if he was Starman or not. I reserve final judgment until next week, since maybe it'll make sense then, but it seemed like she was unsure solely because the plot called for it, and not because there was a logical storyline reason that she would be. Mike and Courtney's brief interaction, and Mike being hurt that Courtney is holding things back from her, was also well done. Although I'm sure in no time he will learn who Courtney and Pat are too. But that, along with his volunteering to go with Pat when he was kicked out of the house, were both nice moments with the character. We also got the backstory of Henry King's mother, who was Mary Pemberton, the girl of 1,000 gimmicks. This is taken straight from the comics, as that was a character from the original Star-Spangled Kid and Stripes' adventures in the Golden Age. She was Henry's mother in the comics also, which I'm ashamed to say until they mentioned that in the episode, I'd actually forgotten about that. I did like the surprise of after being led to believe Icicle killed her because she was starting to reach Brainwave and change him, it turned out Brainwave killed her himself. It was heartbreaking to have Henry discover in the end his dad really was a monster, who ultimately could not embrace whatever good his mother once fell in love with. And with that, we got the Henry King Jr. redemption arc coming to an end, and sadly, a very tragic end, at least it would seem. I was critical that his sudden change of heart could have been presented better before, despite the actor's great performance, but he shined in this episode, possibly his last. His scenes with Yolanda were good, as you could see, even she finally saw that Henry truly had changed. Seeing him interact with and work with the team was great, sort of a mini Infinity Inc. adaptation, having him fight alongside Rick, Yolanda, and Beth, and the fight scene was awesome as well. What's more, this show delivers every time with the fight scenes. Also fun in this scene was Cindy begging to be let out of her cell to kill Stargirl. That girl is no Henry. No redemption for Cindy, she truly is evil. But I'm not sure I'd want her any other way, to be honest. The reaction of Stargirl and Yolanda screaming when Dragon King's mask came off was also great, because that is totally how someone would react if something like that were to actually happen. The scene with Rick and Beth with Solomon Grundy I was not really feeling. I'm sure we were supposed to be on the edge of our seat, wondering if we could finally get a good look at Grundy and see him and our man face off, but I never really believed Rick was going to open that cell. It just didn't seem like the right time, and I would have preferred that they were in a fight with the rest of the team. And then we have Henry's death at the end. It was very well done, as well as his final words to both Yolanda and Courtney. It was a genuine surprise. Maybe part of it was that I assumed given the comics he would eventually join the JSA proper, but either way, I did not see that coming at all. Of course, it is possible he isn't dead. This is a superhero story, and his father had the same powers and has been shown to be really hard to kill. So I wouldn't be surprised if he hasn't survived somehow, but his final scene was done so perfectly, as much of a loss as it would be to the show to lose the character and the actor for that matter. I think in this case it would serve the character better if his sacrifice was his final moment on the show. I'm also curious if Brainwave has his memories back truly and thus will come after Courtney remembering who she is now, or if he still doesn't know and the evil we saw in the end was always there, even with the last 10 years of his memories wiped out. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. I'm Dan the Man, and I'll see you next time.